God revealed me wanting to get sober from alcohol the same way that he did with drugs. And when you know, you know. And I knew. It was one of those where the thought of the taste of it would just made you sick to your stomach. The thought of doing it, the thought of what I was doing to others made you sick to your stomach.
This episode of The Recovery Couch is brought to you by Greg Swartz at Remax Victory and Affiliates. Greg brings heart, hustle, and honesty to every deal. Call Greg at 937-477-8975 today and tell him The Recovery Couch sent you. Hey, what's up, sobriety gangsters? Welcome back to another episode of The Recovery Couch. I'm your host, Brandon Couch, and we have an exciting episode today. I'm here with a friend of mine. He's an author. He's building a platform. He is doing awesome work for the kingdom of God. I want to introduce to you today my good friend, Jason Creery. Jason, how you doing, brother?
I am doing blessed. I'm very blessed. How are you doing, brother?
I am also blessed, man. So big news from you, dude. You got what are you celebrating today, man?
Man, I've got 11 months and 1 day from alcohol, and then I'm getting ready to celebrate 8 years of clean from heroin and meth.
Congratulations. And then today's another big day for another reason.
I got an anniversary with the wife, so it's a blessing. It's an absolute blessing, brother.
Let's
yes,
go.
Sir.
So do you think that it's your 5th year anniversary today, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that that's a possibility if you were in active addiction?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely. We wouldn't even have had 1 year anniversary with my active addiction. She saw me. She wasn't with me through my drug addiction, but she was with me through my alcohol addiction. And to be honest with you, I was a severe heroin addict and severe. I mean, we all are. But I think my alcohol addiction was 10 times worse. I was an 18-wheeler driver. I delivered for a local company, but I delivered regionally, so I was all over Texas, Louisiana, and so forth. I was drinking a gallon plus of vodka while I was driving an 18-wheeler. So the stranglehold of alcohol was consumably worse than it was the heroin. And I was drinking vodka. So, when I was coming off of it, I was having, seizures and very bad withdrawals. I actually had worse withdrawals from the vodka than I did anything else.
It's not the first time I've heard that, man.
No, actually. And what's crazy is up until, it was last August when I graduated from the treatment program. I went in July. It was March of this year is when I stopped taking the seizure medication because it's almost like an aftershock and an earthquake. You need to be concerned after, because sometimes even after you've gotten the alcohol detox out of your body, that seizures can actually be worse because it has something to do with the brain. So yeah, there's absolutely no way. And I almost lost my marriage to the alcohol. I came home and I had gotten a DUI last July, and that was pretty much the last straw. I've been actively drinking a lot, daily, even at work. But people started to know, you can drink, because the reason why I chose vodka was because it doesn't smell. Well, if you drink a gallon of it, it's going to smell. You're going to be able to smell it. And so, the police officer, he smelled it. I couldn't figure out how he smelled it. I'm like, how is this gentleman smelling it? Well, you drink enough of it, you're going to read. And so I went to jail, did my time. And a blessing came from God in jail, which I think a lot of us have our epiphanies or our blessings from jail. A friend of mine that I worked in the oil field with, when I left the oil field, he was still in the oil field. I wake up at 3 a.m. on Sunday morning to, hey, Mr. Creery, come down to my desk. And I'm like, okay. So I go down to the CO's desk. It was my friend from the oil field. He left the oil field and became a CO. And I said, what are you doing here? I said, you're making $200,000 and now you're making $40,000. He goes, yeah. He goes, this is my calling. I said, yeah, this is your calling. I said, because your calling became my calling, because now, you're saving me. And he said, yeah. He goes, I was wondering why you were still here. Your bond's only $3,500. So, and I was told the whole weekend that I didn't have a bond. So, I had a blessing. And so my wife said, okay, this is what we need to do. You need to get help, obviously, because you got a DUI now and you lost your CDL. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go do one last load because I need to make some money. I need to do one last load. I get my load the next day. I get my load, and I was in Central Texas where I deliver. Was my delivery was it's about 9 hours away. I get so hammered by the time I get there. I get so hammered that I can't even see my steering wheel on the 18 wheeler. Um, Called my wife and said, I'm done. I'm absolutely 100% done. I said, I've got to turn my wheel over. Um, I can't do this. I cried to her for half hour, 45 minutes, and then she called my employer, which then called me. I'm sitting in the 18 wheeler with a bottle, crying, and I told him, I said, listen, I can't do this. I got to be honest with you. I'm obviously drunk. You can hear it on my voice. Um, and they said, okay, well, we'll come get you. So they had to send two people, the boss and another guy, so the other guy could drive my truck, and my boss so he could drive me home. Uh, Never did
Nine
hear back
hours
from them.
away? You're 9 hours
Yeah,
away?
yeah. So they drove 9 hours there and then 9 hours back to drop me. It was a long day for them. Needless to say, I didn't go back to that job.
So let me ask
But it
you
was
this real quick. So you in jail, you're the oil rig guy is the CEO. You see him, you're like, what are you doing here? He's like, basically, this was my calling. You start having an epiphany of like, okay, I need to get clean and sober from alcohol. I get out of jail on the $3,500 bond. My wife bonds me out, and I go straight back without a CDL to drive a truck, and I grab a bottle on.
absolutely, absolutely. And I drive 9 hours drunk, basically in an 18 wheeler, because I never really sobered up. Because I mean, as soon as I left jail, I was still drinking because I was afraid of seizures. Um, so I was having to at least put something in my body for the seizures to prevent the seizures. And so that whole time I was drinking. I got home from that trip, well, the trip, um, and my wife was standing there in the bedroom. She's like, listen, she goes, I can't do this. She goes, you got to do something. I said, all right. I said, in the morning, take, we're going to go take me to treatment. And the company that I worked for had a pretty good place down the street from here, which I didn't even know that was here. It was called Uprising. Uh, I ended up the next morning, but I told her, and this is probably the one thing that stood out the most to me is that she was crying and saying that she can't do it. And I had a bottle in my car the whole time because I knew the next morning I was going to need something. And I told her, I said, listen, is it okay that I drink this? And I had probably about that much in the bottle. It took every bit of that just so I could stand and walk because my whole body ached. Um, I said, can I drink this? And then that'll get me to there. And then when I get there, we'll figure it out. And she said, all right. She goes, I'm going to turn my back. I'm going to walk out. You go to the bathroom, close the door, drink it, discarded the bottle, and then we're going to go. I did, and got to the treatment center. The guy that did my intake became my best friend, and we still talk together. We still talk to this day. We're actually going on a men's retreat in August. So the Lord has put very many people in my path, as long as I am faithful in His walk and what I'm doing. Which is the reason why I felt led to writing a book and doing a podcast and so on and so forth. Because I don't want it to stop right at just getting sober. Because I've done that before, and well, I'm 50 years old, and we see where it put me. So I want to give back to other addicts that don't feel like, because I was, I have a very long story with homelessness and drug addiction, which is in my book. Um, and so I've always felt like there's never really a place for me to go, or people don't listen. So I want people to know that there's people out there that are willing to listen and take the time to help them. So
Absolutely. I love that message, Jason. So it sounds like, the oil rig dude says, CEO is my calling. Money wasn't really the issue. I had to follow my calling. And somewhere in there, you started realizing, all right, I need a mission. What's my calling? Okay. I realize I have a heart to love the people who have been through similar things that I've been through, substance abuse. And that's so let me lean into that, and maybe it was revealed, maybe God revealed it to you, like.
yes, absolutely. It's crazy is God revealed me wanting to get sober from alcohol the same way that He did with drugs. When you know, and And I never really understood that term. I always heard it from people that have been sober for 20, 30, 40 years. They're like, when you know, you know. And I knew, excuse me. Um, it was one of those where you just the thought of the taste of it would just made you sick to your stomach. The thought of doing it, the thought of what I was doing to others, made you sick to your stomach, and you're just like, I'm at a point where I don't want to do this anymore. It became more of a full time job to get alcohol and to drink it and to hide it from people than it did to go work two full time jobs. That it was more exhausting. Um, and then the mental beating, I guess you take from, okay, well, I'm at work and I can't really take a drink, but I need a drink before I have a seizure or I get sick or, somebody finds me out. So, you get that mental part of it too. So, yeah, it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, and the thing of it is, and I've got blessed in this. I got really blessed. I didn't know the laws, but I actually have 4 DUIs prior to this. But all of them are over 10 years old in Louisiana. Up until like a month before I got my DUI, uh, anything 10 years or older, they didn't count it. Now they go back a lifetime. They started September 25. They went back a lifetime. I got blessed. So I took the opportunity to think that God's telling me something between the people that are in my path. I mean, a guy making 200,000, all of a sudden I wake up to him calling my name in jail in a pod. I mean, that's unheard of. I've never heard of a story like that. And I still talk to him to today, and I'm giving him a book, because of it. Um, with the whole law change, I mean, and then the people outside, that he's put in my path, you and my friend that Ricky and all this other stuff. That, I've had nothing but blessings. I've never woken up a morning since I've been sober said, man, you know what? I really regret doing something. I haven't done that.
Yeah, and it sounds like what you're explaining is the spiritual awakening of,
Yes.
now I'm paying attention to, all these things that have just, became aligned with, the route that I'm going, and I can't ignore them anymore. The law, the people being placed in your path, the CO calling your name, talking about his calling. Yeah, I would absolutely 100%, Jason, agree with you that there was a spiritual awakening, and you started to, process like, okay, God, I see what you're doing, and I have to follow that. That's similar to my story, and I'm not going to get into my story, but there was also another thing you said where, you said when you know, and I think a big indicator of that was the fact that you called your boss and just told on yourself straight up.
Yes.
That's a big
Yes.
deal, dude.
Yes. That's my
That's
boss goes.
honesty.
He
That's
goes.
real
He goes. Did
honesty.
you accidentally? My boss like, did you accidentally call me? I said, no, I meant to call you.
Oh, but I guarantee you, and it's tough to get those moments to process to people we tell our stories to, but those are big, huge defining moments where like you finally walk away from a substance abuse related issue with a little bit of like, I just did the right thing.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And it's been, the one right thing turns into two right things, which turns into four right things, turns into 12 right things. And then you start to see blessings come at you or come to you. There's a lot of things that have happened that's blessings, that I've never even searched for that just, they come to me, and I've always heard people talk about that. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, you went and put the work into it, you've done, but no, I mean, it is 100% true that, people do bless you and you get blessings, just by doing the work, by doing right. And,
Being
but
honest.
100%, 100, not you. What is it? You can't half measure anything, you got to
Yep.
do it at 100%.
Yep. And people respect. I mean, that's a tough conversation to call your boss and be like, "Hey, man, I'm drunk." But I guarantee you, if you asked him today, he'd be like, I respect what you did that day."
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guarantee he would.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was. I didn't want to drive 9 hours or 18 hours. But you did the right thing for yourself, and I
Yeah.
respect
Absolutely.
that. And then your
Absolutely.
wife, man, she's sad. She's dropping you off, but she understands. Like when you explain, I need this to at least get there.
Yeah, I didn't want to hide that at least. I mean, I wanted it to be one of my last. I wanted it to be at least I don't know how you put it, but like I knew it was a negative, but I wanted to at least be honest about that, and maybe I could start my sobriety with that piece of honesty. Be like, okay, well, if he's gonna be honest about that, maybe he'll go ahead and start learning how to be honest about his addiction and alcohol and stuff like that. So,
And I would
and
say
then on top,
I would go as far as to say too, Jason, is that's another spiritual
yeah,
awakening
yeah,
thing that like
hmm
God put this woman in my, she loved me,
definitely,
even to the point of like, listen, I don't know how else to be honest about this because I did the same thing going into treatment. I had pills in my pocket and I used them before I went, but somebody who's never been in substance abuse don't understand that, but
yeah,
to
absolutely,
be able to explain like, gosh, this is going to be really hard to tell you, but I'm going to need this to
yeah,
get there.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely,
And
just
then
to
they
make it
still
there.
love you. Dude.
Yeah. I mean, like, really? You sure about that? You positive?
Yeah.
And see, and another thing that she was going through too is that's not the only thing that she was going through. Let's see, that was July. So November of 24, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So she was dealing with that on top of it. So, we were getting hit with whammies after whammies after whammies. So, it was one of those things where I just really, there was, there's no really good timing at all ever for that. But I think that was perfect timing, to be honest with you, because it was the right time. And I hate to say this because it sounds so, but when I've had a lot of friends where they never got that right time. Most of them are 6 feet in the ground right now. 90% of my friends or what I call friends back in the day, they're 6 feet in the ground. So, but I'd say for me, it was the perfect timing because it brought us closer together. Sometimes when you're going through something and then you tackle something else, it kind of brings you closer together, and it really did. When I was in treatment, my counselor, love her to death. She did a one-on-one with me and my wife, and kind of we sat down and saw her side, saw my side, and we kind of came together, and we met in the middle with what was going on. So there was some counseling that was involved. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you're just like, man, you still want to be with me after all this? I mean, you sure about that? But yeah,
That's love, and it's transformational love. When once you feel some love like that, I mean, it's. I felt it in my life too, and when I felt it, I'm like, man, these people love me regardless, right? Of what the muck I've drug them. Man, it breaks me down into tears, bro.
yes,
That type of love,
absolutely,
and
yeah,
it's part of what sparked me to want to change.
yeah, yeah.
Like
That's
you
the same here.
said, earlier in the conversation, I was sick of being at work and knowing I needed a drink to stop the shakes or whatever, but also the feeling, the mental anguish of what I put other people through. And I think we all deal with that. And then we get to
Yeah,
the point, me and you, it sounds like got to a point where it was like, man, even though I put them through that, man, they still love me. That
yeah,
type of love,
yeah,
that's the type of love God has for us, for one, but that's
absolutely.
transformational love, man. That is really, in my opinion, one of the only things you got to love somebody out of addiction.
Yep, absolutely,
And it's,
absolutely. And then what I do, and probably not everybody does this, but I know for me and then the people that I associate with now that's in recovery, we work 10 times harder to show our appreciation. And even though it's not required of us to, like every day, I make it a point to tell her I love her all day long, just because, one, I don't know, we never know how long we're going to be here for. And two, it's just, she deserves it because all the crap that I put her through, she deserves it. Yeah. So, I mean, so, and she appreciates it. I know she does. She always tells me she appreciates it.
yeah, dude, I love that part of your story. So let's shift gears and tell us about when you started. I don't know, was it 11 months ago when you were like, man, I want to write my story down. Tell us about the author project and how you rolled your sleeves up to put pen to paper for that, and just what
Okay.
you have as far as a vision on building your platform, your podcast, and how can we help and how can the people find it?
Okay. So yeah, the book, I'm in school. I go to Grand Canyon University and I'm going to school to be a counselor, get my bachelor's degree. So, not only am I writing a book, but I do work 2 jobs. One of them is a treatment center, and then I also go to school full time. So I keep myself busy. I talked to one of my counselors, and I turned in at every because the way they work their school online, every 7 weeks you do one class. So like this next Monday is the last. I'll start a new class, and I'll do that for 7 weeks, and then after that I'll do another class and another class, so on and so forth. Well, you write every class. You write a paper about yourself, just so you get to know the class because you don't see them face to face. So, that's how we get to know each other. So I wrote about my addiction because since I'm going for counseling, they said write about yourself and make it a part of what you're going to school for. So I did it about my addiction, my 30-year heroin use, alcohol abuse, and all that. So my counselor and my professor took it to another counselor that is a part of a ghostwriting company, and they said, we love your story. We absolutely love your story. It is very powerful. People need to hear it. We feel that you need to share your story with the world. And I said, well, how do I do that? I'm like, I understand that there's social media and there's all kinds of stuff, but I don't really want to put it on YouTube or anything. And they're like, no, no, no. They told me the counselor's name. They're like, yeah, this counselor works for a ghostwriting company outside of teaching and counseling school. We'll hook you up with them. So they did, and there was fees and stuff like that. But they said, okay, well, what we're going to do is we'll sit down and we'll do sessions with you, kind of like this podcast. We'll do sessions with you and tell us your story. They jot down key points and highlighted all that kind of stuff. And then they come back and they just start writing it out, and you edit it, you critique it, however you want to critique it. And yeah, I mean, it's transpired. Let's see, I started doing this around November of last year, and it just went into publishing yesterday. It should be hitting Amazon Kindle by Monday or Tuesday. I'm getting hardbacks sent to me. I'm getting 23 of them, but they can also go online. Let's see, the Kindle is $9.99, the paperback is $14.99, and then the hardback is $19.99. And they can just go online. It's called Breaking the Chains, and you can look it up through Amazon. As of right now, it's going to be in English and it's going to be in Spanish. So I'll be in South America, North America, Canada, Europe, and Asia is where my book will be sold at online. So, in 50 different platforms. So,
Jason, bro, how excited are you about that? You gotta be,
man,
bro.
I mean, you get nervous about doing a lot because you're not used to you're used to being a mess up. I'm used to sleeping on doorways, people throwing boiling water on me and tell me I'm a nuisance and sticking a needle in my arm or sticking a bottle in my mouth. So to do all this, it's nerve wracking, but at the same time, I'm excited too. I'm excited for people to see it. It's kind of like when somebody goes into acting for the first. You don't really know what to do. You kind of are just flying by the seat of your pants. You're learning things as you go. But I have a team of people with the company that helped me write the book. They're working with me. They're getting everything set up, so they kind of guide me in the process and tell me what I need to do and what I don't need to do. So yeah, I'm excited, really excited. Podcasts. I thought as I was writing the book, I'm like, you know what? I started seeing a lot. I guess I put out podcasts on my algorithm somehow on Facebook, and so I started seeing a lot more podcasts. And then it went into because I look at a lot. I look for a lot of sobriety stuff, and my friend just started a sobriety group on Facebook, and so a lot of things come up on my algorithm as sobriety. So then you came up, and some others came up podcasts, and I'm like, I'm gonna check this out real quick. So I started watching some of yours and some other people's and stuff, and I'm like, this doesn't seem too difficult. It's more of starting it. It seems like it'd be a little bit tricky, a little bit, figuring out how to do stuff. But I mean, there's plenty of people I talk to. I can probably figure it out somehow. Bought some equipment and stuff, and looking for a good spot to start doing it. It's called Breaking the Chains podcast. And I've got Facebook set up, and I've got a few other small details set up, but I've got to get with somebody that really knows how to get it going.
I got you, bro. Don't worry about it.
I appreciate that.
You better believe it, man. That's what brothers do, man.
Absolutely.
That's what
Absolutely.
brothers do for each other. Yeah, dude, I'm so proud of you and happy for you,
Thank
dude.
you.
It's exciting.
Thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate you. I appreciate you
Yeah,
having me on.
man, dude. Yeah, my pleasure, dude. So, we got a few more minutes. Let's go back a little bit, man. Uh, Quick summary. What did the heroin meth addiction look like? I think you've kind of
Oh boy.
gave us a little bit of an illustration with sleeping on porches and getting boiling water thrown at you. Just
Yeah.
a quick summary. You don't have to get into the nitty gritty,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
It
and
was like Nikki Six without the stage and the band. It was and that's kind of where it stemmed from. It's weird, and I really would never want to tell him this, but he kind of got me into the whole heroin because I know about it when I was a kid and all that. I was 14. Cocaine wasn't available at the time. That's what was a drug of choice at that time when I was 13, 14 was cocaine. I was out in California. Um, and this is back in arcade days. So he didn't have cocaine, so had heroin. The way we wanted to do it is shooting it up. So the dealer taught me how to do all that. 15, got kicked out of my dad's house, never went back. Lived on the streets from 15 to 44. There were some breaks in between, maybe I would say a total of 7 or 8 years, but for about 30 years, I was on the street for about 21, 22 years, living in doorways. I was a vagabond. I traveled. I would go from state to state. One month I'd be in Seattle, which I spent a lot of my time in Seattle and California. But then I would also go to Texas, which is not a good place to go. Texas and um, Florida, places like that. I went to Florida a lot because of the beach. I'd be homeless on the beach. Um,
explain why Texas isn't a good place to go. Just an influx of drugs.
uh, you get busted with a pot seed and you're catching a felony charge. So if you get caught with a needle and some heroin and being homeless and all that, yeah, they really 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 look down on that. So that was a terrible place to be. It's really hot. There's not much for resources for the homeless, especially for the addicts. So and see, like I was an IV user, so needles were not as accessible as they were like in Seattle. Seattle, they just give them to you. So, which people don't think about that. It's like, okay, well, you got to be able to do it somehow. And so, it was very dark, grim, cold, lonely. I was in high school. I graduated high school when I was living on the streets. My freshman year all the way through my senior year, I was in the streets. I lived underneath bridges. I'd wash, I'd shower either at the YMCA or I'd go get a membership at the gym. Or there was a bridge where I stayed at in Puyallup, Washington, which is up by Seattle. There was a creek there. I'd wash there. I was caught my sophomore, junior year. I was caught by a counselor. They followed me because they knew something was fishy, something was up. Um, and they never really did anything about it. It wasn't as prevalent back then for people to be homeless. I mean, they were around. I mean, they've always been around, but you just didn't see them as much. There wasn't as much help. There was more survival. Like nowadays, you have all these food banks and so on and so forth. Um, so it was very cold, dark. Spent most of my life being hate on in Washington. Like I said, these last few years, well, last few years in like the early teens, uh, people would throw hot water because you had Amazon, you had Google, Microsoft. So, it was expensive to live there. Properties were really expensive. And so for the homeless to be there, you would depreciate the value of homes and property. And so they would throw hot water. I mean, people would like intentionally go out of their way to go get water, boil it, and throw it on the homeless person. People beat you up. I slept in front of the library and the guy was sleeping next to me, which I didn't know him, but he slept next to me. He was stabbed in the middle of the night, killed him. Um, you know, so it was rough. It was my drug addiction was rough in that aspect. Um, but I had stopped drinking for a little while. One, drugs didn't really want me. I didn't really want to drink when I was on drugs. But two, my mom committed suicide in 2012. She drank antifreeze and took her own life. So I shunned off alcohol for a while. So yeah. So a little bit in a nutshell, kind of wrapping it up, is just rough, really rough, violent. So
Gosh, man, yeah. And you wrote all
yeah,
that in the book.
yeah, yeah. We were able to squeeze. We were able to squeeze. Went from childhood to till up to today. So I was amazed that how much you could squeeze in 210 pages.
Well, listen, man, I want to be one of the first people to tell you, bro, that you are brave. It takes courage, and it takes somebody with that is not afraid to be bold. It takes a bad man. It takes a bad motherfucker, bro, is what it takes
Yeah, yeah,
to
absolutely.
be able to put all my life out there and be vulnerable. And I'm
Well,
not
yeah,
going to bite my tongue when I say that. It's what it takes. And that's what you are, dude. And I'm so proud of you,
I
man.
appreciate it.
Keep up the good work. Let me ask you one last question. So if there's somebody out there listening, active addiction, man, stories similar to yours, they've been on every drug, alcohol, they're to the point where they're either going to go into serious uh, dope sickness or, tremors if they choose to get off drugs. What type of advice do you give that person?
Stay focused, stay positive. Listen to the people around you that are giving you good advice. They're not giving you advice. They're giving you advice that you need to hear, not that what you want to hear. And that's a lot of people's problems is they're not hearing what they want to hear, and a lot of times what you want to hear is not the good advice. And stick with it. Get yourself around a bunch of good people, and just push forward. And one of the things that I've learned with me and my and friends that I've gotten sober with, or are sober with, um, is don't just be stagnant. Um, do something within the community, within yourself to help others. Do something because it. You need to stay not only within yourself and helping you get sober, but you also need to help others because that also helps you stay sober. So, and that
Amen.
takes time too. I mean, that you got to be in some sobriety before you do that. But I mean, that's just down the road.
I love it, dude. Yeah. Find a purpose and a mission, and that'll
Yes,
help. That'll certainly
absolutely.
help, man. I
Absolutely.
want to thank you so much, Jason. Any last words, real quick, before we hop off?
Man, I'm blessed to be here. I'm blessed to be on your show. And man, everybody keep your heads up, stay sober.
Amen. Yeah, please go check out Jason Creery's book, Breaking the Chains. His podcast will be out soon. Him and I are going to have a conversation. So stay here, Jason, about how to get that started because I think you can do amazing things with that. So please, everyone listening, go check out Jason Creery, get the book, and support this man because he's doing unbelievable things. And so thankful for his time here on the podcast. And for the rest of you, always remember that you have a seat right here on the Recovery Couch. This episode of the Recovery Couch is brought to you by JB Davis of South Dayton Toyota. If you're looking for integrity, outstanding service, and unbeatable deals on your next vehicle, JB is the guy to call. He's built his reputation on honesty and taking care of people the right way. Reach out to JB Davis today at 513-267-5225 and experience the difference.